Amaya Johnson stood in the shoe aisle of a Dick's Sporting Goods in South Park Mall, Charlotte, her heart racing with excitement. At 12 years old, she was just a kid, but she carried a pride that was heavier than her small frame. Her best friend, Mia, was beside her, chatting animatedly about school and the latest sneakers. "My mom's not picking me up until she's done at Fort Bragg," Amaya said casually, flipping the lid of a shoebox closed. "She's in Special Forces, so sometimes her schedule's crazy." Mia's eyes widened. "Wait, your mom's in the army? Like actually fighting?" "Yeah," Amaya replied, her voice light as if discussing her favorite cereal. "Sergeant Major Nicole Johnson. She just got back from a mission overseas." But before Amaya could bask in the moment, a sharp laugh cut through the air. It was Officer Jake Reynolds, off-duty and dressed casually in jeans and a Carolina Panthers t-shirt. He stood a few feet away, flipping through a rack of hoodies, his laughter echoing like a taunt. "Special Forces?" he scoffed, shaking his head. "Come on, I've been in law enforcement for 20 years, and I can tell you right now, there's no way your mom is running around with the Green Berets. Especially not someone like her." The words stung, sharper than any knife. Amaya's cheeks flushed, her lips pressed into a thin line. Around her, shoppers turned to look, some pretending to browse while others whispered behind their hands. Mia leaned closer, her voice low. "Just ignore him. He doesn't know." But ignoring wasn't an option. Officer Reynolds continued, his voice dripping with condescension. "Kids like to make up stories. My son used to say his dad was Batman. Same kind of thing. Cute but not real." Amaya's heart raced, a mix of embarrassment and anger boiling inside her. She wanted to defend her mom, to shout that her mother was a hero, but the words jammed in her throat. Instead, she shoved the shoebox back onto the shelf, the cardboard scraping loudly against the display. "Why would you say that in front of everyone?" Mia whispered nervously. "Because it's true," Amaya managed to say, her voice barely above a whisper. Reynolds laughed again, addressing the small crowd that had gathered. "See? Cute kid making up a fantasy. Look, sweetheart, there's nothing wrong with wanting your mom to be a hero, but you don't have to invent fairy tales." The word, fairy tales, landed like a slap. Amaya's mother was no fairy tale. She was flesh and blood, stronger than anyone Amaya knew. But standing there, under the fluorescent lights, Amaya felt powerless. "Tell you what," Reynolds said, tapping his badge. "If your mom's really Special Forces, maybe she should come by the station sometime. We could use a laugh." Amaya's chest tightened. She thought of her mom's calloused hands, the medals displayed in their living room, the way she commanded respect in any room she entered. Her mother had risked her life more times than Amaya could count, and here was a man tearing it all down with a smirk. "You don't know anything about her," Amaya finally said, her voice cracking. Reynolds's smile faltered for just a moment, but he quickly recovered, clapping his hands together as if the matter was settled. "Sure, kid. Whatever you say." Around them, shoppers exchanged looks, some amused, some uncomfortable. But no one stepped in. The silence magnified Amaya's humiliation. "Maybe we should just wait outside," Mia suggested, but Amaya couldn't move. Her sneakers felt glued to the floor. This was about more than embarrassment. It was about her mom, her truth, her pride. What Amaya didn't know was that at that very moment, Sergeant Major Nicole Johnson was walking through the sliding glass doors of the mall, her uniform crisp and commanding. As Nicole entered the store, Amaya's heart raced. She wanted to run into her mother's arms, but something about the way Nicole moved, focused and purposeful, made her stay frozen. Reynolds spotted Nicole, and his grin faltered. "Evening, ma'am," he said, forcing a polite smile. "What's going on?" Nicole asked, her voice calm but carrying authority. Amaya's voice trembled as she spoke. "He said I made it up. That you couldn't be who you are." Reynolds chuckled nervously. "Kids, you know how they are. Big imaginations." Nicole's eyes narrowed. "You mocked my daughter in front of strangers and called her a liar." The tension in the air thickened. Shoppers leaned in, captivated by the unfolding drama. "Tell me, officer, what exactly made it so funny?" Nicole's voice was steady, but it cut through the air like a knife. Reynolds shifted uncomfortably. I didn't mean anything by it. Just thought it was unusual. Unusual doesn't mean impossible, Nicole replied, her tone sharp. You've never seen it, and maybe the problem is less about me being here and more about you never imagining I could be. Amaya felt a swell of pride as her mother stood firm. The crowd murmured in agreement, and Reynolds's bravado began to crumble. Next time, before you laugh at a child, remember that truth doesn't need your permission to exist, Nicole said, her voice unwavering. Reynolds's face flushed, and he looked around, realizing he was no longer in control. Nicole continued, addressing the crowd. This isn't just about one man and one child. It's about what happens when someone decides their assumptions matter more than the truth. Amaya's heart swelled as she listened to her mother speak. She felt seen, validated, and proud. Amaya, Nicole said, turning to her daughter, you never have to be ashamed of telling the truth. Not when it's about me. Not about anything. Tears of relief filled Amaya's eyes, but they were no longer tears of humiliation. They were tears of pride. As the crowd began to disperse, Amaya realized that the lesson wasn't just for Reynolds. It was for everyone watching, including her. Promise me, Nicole said softly, that you'll never let anyone take your truth away. Amaya looked up at her mother, her heart full. I promise. As they walked out of the store, Amaya felt lighter. She had learned a lesson that day. Never let anyone laugh you out of your own truth. And as they stepped into the mall, she knew she would carry that lesson with her forever. Days passed, but the incident lingered in Amaya's mind. She found herself replaying the moment over and over, the laughter, the humiliation, and then her mother's powerful defense. It was a lesson that transcended that day, a lesson about courage, truth, and standing up for what you believe in. At school, Amaya shared the story with her classmates. Some were shocked, others inspired. They rallied around her, and soon, the story of Sergeant Major Nicole Johnson became a source of pride for Amaya and her friends. They wore t-shirts with slogans like, Truth Matters, and Heroes Come in All Forms, celebrating not just Nicole but the strength of women everywhere. One afternoon, Amaya and Mia decided to organize a small event at school to honor women in the military. They invited local veterans to speak, sharing their experiences and the importance of representation. The gym was filled with students, teachers, and parents, all eager to listen. When Nicole arrived, the room erupted in applause. Amaya beamed with pride as her mother took the stage. Nicole spoke about her journey, the challenges she faced, and the importance of believing in oneself. She emphasized that everyone has a story worth telling, and that truth should never be silenced. As the event concluded, Amaya felt a sense of fulfillment. She had turned a moment of humiliation into a celebration of strength and resilience. The laughter that once stung now felt like a distant memory, replaced by the warmth of support and community. A new beginning. Months later, Amaya stood in front of her mirror, adjusting her uniform. She had decided to join the Junior Reserve Officers Training Corps, JROTC, at her school. Inspired by her mother and the events that had unfolded, she wanted to follow in Nicole's footsteps, to serve her country and stand up for those who couldn't. On the first day of JROTC, Amaya walked into the classroom with her head held high. She was greeted by her peers, many of whom had heard her story. They welcomed her with open arms, and she felt a sense of belonging. As the weeks went by, Amaya learned about leadership, discipline, and teamwork. She thrived in the program, gaining confidence and skills that would serve her well in the future. Her instructors recognized her potential, often praising her for her determination and spirit. One day, during a drill, Amaya was chosen to lead her squad. As she stood in front of her peers, she felt a rush of pride. She remembered the laughter, the humiliation, and her mother's unwavering support. She knew that she was not just representing herself but also all the women who had fought for their place in history. After the drill, her instructor approached her. You did a fantastic job today, Amaya. Keep this up and you'll go far. Amaya smiled, her heart swelling with pride. She had transformed from a girl who felt small and humiliated into a young woman who was ready to take on the world. Conclusion. Years later, as Amaya stood on the graduation stage, she looked out at the crowd, her heart full. She had achieved so much, and she knew that none of it would have been possible without the lessons learned that day in the mall. Her mother, now a decorated officer, sat in the front row, beaming with pride. Amaya had not only embraced her truth but had also inspired others to do the same. As she delivered her speech, she spoke about courage, truth, and the importance of standing up for oneself. The crowd listened intently, and Amaya felt a sense of purpose wash over her. In that moment, she realized that the laughter that once stung had transformed into a powerful reminder of her journey. She had learned to never let anyone laugh her out of her own truth, and she would carry that lesson with her for the rest of her life. As she concluded her speech, the audience erupted in applause, and Amaya knew that she was ready for whatever came next. She was not just a daughter of a soldier, she was a soldier in her own right, ready to face the world with courage and conviction.